Welcome to Undocumented Lives, where we explore critical global issues shaping our world. Today, we're diving into Europe's new migration crackdown and unraveling why its repercussions extend far beyond European borders, directly impacting the United States. Immigration is a defining challenge of our era, and the policies enacted by major global players like the European Union create a ripple effect that touches every corner of the planet. Understanding this interconnectedness is crucial to grasping the complexities of human movement and policy responses. This new EU pact represents a significant shift, and its implications demand our attention, both for those seeking refuge and for the nations grappling with managing these flows.
Let's break down the crux of Europe's new Migration and Asylum Pact, a legislative overhaul that took years of contentious negotiations to finalize. At its heart, the pact aims for stricter external border controls, intending to better regulate who enters the EU. It introduces significantly faster processing times for asylum applications right at the borders, with a focus on determining eligibility swiftly. Crucially, it also mandates a new system of mandatory solidarity among member states. This means countries can either take in asylum seekers or provide financial or material support to states on the front line, effectively distributing the responsibility more evenly, a key departure from previous policies. To fully appreciate the new pact, it's essential to understand its predecessor, the Dublin Regulation. For decades, Dublin dictated that the first EU country an asylum seeker entered was responsible for their application. This led to immense pressure on frontline states like Greece, Italy, and Spain, creating significant imbalances and humanitarian crises. The Dublin system was widely criticized for its inability to facilitate genuine burden sharing. The new pact directly confronts this by introducing the mandatory solidarity mechanism, designed to ensure that the responsibility for managing migration flows is distributed more equitably across the 27 member states, aiming for a more unified and sustainable approach.
While proponents argue the pact brings order, human rights organizations and activists have voiced profound concerns. Critics argue that the emphasis on accelerated border procedures and detention could compromise the fundamental rights of asylum seekers, particularly vulnerable individuals like children and victims of trafficking. There are fears that the rapid processing could lead to superficial assessments, increasing the risk of refoulement, sending individuals back to danger. Organizations like Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch have warned that the pact might effectively create mass detention centers at borders, potentially violating international law and humanitarian principles.
Europe's actions don't occur in a vacuum. They trigger a global ripple effect. A stricter European stance is likely to shift migration routes, redirecting asylum seekers and migrants to other regions perceived as more accessible or welcoming. This could put increased pressure on neighboring countries that are not part of the EU, or even on distant nations. It also sets a precedent, potentially influencing other countries and blocs to adopt similar restrictive policies, leading to a global tightening of borders. This domino effect could further complicate international efforts to manage migration humanely and effectively, pushing vulnerable populations into more perilous journeys.
So, how does Europe's crackdown directly impact the United States? It's not as distant as it seems. As Europe tightens its borders, individuals fleeing conflict, persecution, or economic hardship will seek alternative paths. The U.S., particularly its southern border, has historically been a significant destination for asylum seekers. A more restrictive Europe could contribute to a redirection of migrants, intensifying the existing pressures on the U.S. border infrastructure and asylum system. This could translate to an increase in asylum claims at the U.S. border, further stretching resources and fueling domestic debates about immigration policy and border security.
The challenges faced by Europe resonate deeply with those in the United States. Both regions grapple with the delicate balance of border security, humanitarian obligations, and the practicalities of processing an increasing number of asylum claims. The debates around expedited asylum processes, detention conditions, and the integration of new arrivals are eerily similar. Europe's mandatory solidarity concept also mirrors discussions in the U.S. about how states and federal agencies should share the burden of migrant reception and processing. understanding Europe's approach, its successes and failures, offers valuable lessons for the ongoing immigration discourse in the United States.
Immigration isn't just a political issue. It has profound economic and demographic implications. Many European nations facing aging populations and labor shortages have historically relied on immigration to sustain their workforce and economies. A significant tightening of immigration policies could exacerbate these demographic challenges. In the U.S., debates also rage about the economic contributions of immigrants versus perceived costs. Both regions wrestle with the impact of undocumented workers on informal economies and the potential for labor market disruptions. These economic factors are often overlooked but are crucial drivers and consequences of migration policies.
Given the interconnected nature of global migration, unilateral crackdowns, whether in Europe or elsewhere, often merely displace problems rather than solve them. What's truly needed is a commitment to international cooperation and comprehensive strategies. This includes addressing the root causes of migration, such as conflict, poverty, and climate change in countries of origin. It also requires robust legal pathways for migration and asylum, ensuring shared responsibility among nations. No single country or bloc can effectively manage this complex phenomenon alone. A unified, humane, and pragmatic global approach is the only sustainable path forward.
In conclusion, Europe's new migration crackdown is more than just a regional policy shift. It's a critical development with far-reaching consequences for undocumented lives worldwide, including in the United States. The ripple effect of stricter European borders could intensify challenges at the U.S. southern border, demanding renewed attention to our own asylum and immigration policies. As we've seen, the global challenges of migration are deeply interconnected, requiring not isolationist policies, but rather a commitment to shared responsibility, humane treatment, and international collaboration. The path forward is undoubtedly complex, but understanding these global dynamics is the first step towards finding sustainable and equitable solutions for all.